Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Gold Coast Speakers Podcast. And this is a podcast designed where speakers can have conversations so that you can learn more about our incredible speakers, what they talk about, who they are. My name's Ilona, and I have the pleasure today of talking with the amazing, energetic Miss Carly. And I actually know Carly, and not only do I know Carly, I've heard her speak, I've been to one of her workshops. She's got such incredible energy. She's so bright. I think you're really going to enjoy our conversation today. And even more than that, I've actually engaged in Carly's services. But even that I've done all those things, there's still so many things I want to know and I still don't know. And today's going to be a learning opportunity for all of us. And we're going to hear so many amazing things from Carly. So welcome, Carly. How exciting. You and I
Hello.
together again.
So good. So
Yes.
good, yeah.
So let's dive in. We're going to talk all things AI, which is what, this is your strength, this is your wheelhouse. But we've got to start where it all began. And that's, so we're going to understand how this has all evolved for you. And I think it started with a company called Get My Refund, if I've got that right. Is it AFR, top 100 company in Australia? Incredible. Well done. And that was probably even before AI was this thing. So what did you learn from that? What happened? What did it teach you? Where did it all begin? Tell us, Carly.
And I love where we're starting here because I think people actually assume that I'm a tech person. So when they look at me, they think, oh my gosh, she knows so much about technology, and it's actually not my background. 16 years in car dealerships, for finance and for sales, and then into Get My Refund, which was a financial services company. But bearing in mind, technology isn't actually what scaled that business. Systems did. Documenting did. Repeating the boring things before AI was cool, by the way, before everybody was an Instagram expert on AI. And then we automated. So you get your process sorted first and then you automated. And it's exactly what I do now. And it's pretty much where I spend most of my time training teams, implementing that. Because the lessons at the time, it wasn't, let's buy a better system. Let's do a different software. The lesson was we have really great people running my business, and the people are actually the growth engine. And if you get the people right and the process is right, the technology becomes complementary to that. And I think most people at the moment are teaching AI that it's a magic thing, that you press this button and a robot comes in, and then all of a sudden everything is done. And we all know as business owners that businesses are not like that. So I don't come from a background of technology. I come from a background of operations and business.
And this is why you and I connect so well. Because operations is my wheelhouse. Documents and processes are my wheelhouse. But I love where you've just gone with that, combining people with AI. It's such an important mix. And I really love that you get that. And this is why you're so amazing. And because it isn't that businesses have an AI problem, it's operations, as you said. So tell me more about the operations side. Like, what's the problem with operations?
Okay, so I think that for people listening, if your business only runs because Sharon knows everything that you do, then you have a big problem. And it could be the founder that knows what everyone does, thinks they know what everyone does, but nothing is actually written down. So I think here is my test. You're going to hire or pretend we're hiring a new person into your business, okay? And if they cannot follow a process on day one, okay, if they have to ask anybody a single question, then the answer is your AI will fail also. Because if an employee comes into your business and they do not understand the processes and what they need to do, the role, the task, the context, the expectation. I am literally telling you how to prompt an AI right now. It's exactly the same thing. Because if a process is in someone's head, the AI is not going to fix that. Okay, so AI is not going to fix chaos. It's going to make it more chaotic. I even sound like AI now. I promise I'm not AI. I am real. But the thing is, you've got to fix your operations first, and then AI becomes part of the easiest thing that you've done. But you cannot do that first. So I don't think you have an AI problem. You have a human and process problem. So fix that, and AI becomes your ultimate king or queen of your business.
And if someone's looking at that going, I do have a lot of people in my business who have so much in their head and there is that chaos. They know they need some help and they want some help and they know, they're thinking AI is going to help them. Like, what's that first few months with you? What do you recommend they do? Like, where do they start in those first sort of 3 months, 90 days? What would they do?
Well, I'm going to tell you what to not do first. So you are not going to, and anybody listening to this, you are not going to go and collect lots more tools. I do not allow you to have 7 subscriptions with 0 systems and nobody on your team knows how to use it apart from you. Because what's happening is busy business owners, they want to reduce their workload. They actually want to help. And I actually love this about most businesses that I work with. Most businesses turn around to me and say, Carly, I actually want to give my time, my team back their time. Like, I absolutely love entrepreneurs because we genuinely want to build businesses that people want to work for. And this is the one thing. So what the business owner does is they buy a course and they get all excited and they start doing this thing and they're like, oh, this is great. We're going to implement this. And then they're the only person that knows it. And their team is still doing things exactly the same way as they've already done it because nobody in the team knows it apart from you. And so this is my rule. So get one bottleneck or find one bottleneck in your business that will move the needle. It will reduce time, or if it's fixed, it will make more money. Okay. And once you've got that bottleneck, what you need to do is you need to automate just that one thing. Okay. So we're not trying to build Rome in a day. And people want to get to the magic robots. I get it. But the magic robots don't fix anything. They really make it more complicated. So you fix one thing, you automate that, you get really good at that, and then you train your team on that. And then your team are doing it. And then move on and just replicate. So my rule of thumb is get one bottleneck, fix that, and then give someone that project to run. Because what we're doing is we're implementing it and then we're not managing the process either. And this is actually how AI fails. It's failed in some of the projects that I've done for myself and for others when the teams or the people or the companies don't know who's managing it, don't know who's doing it. Because we have to teach people in our company, we have to teach them how to use this properly. Because your system is actually your humans.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I love that, we've broken it down and you've gone pick one bottleneck and do that one first, but that keeps it really simple and really helps maybe people who are listening thinking about, well, what is my one bottleneck that I can work on straight away? What is it for my business? What is it? And so give me an example, Carly. Talk to me about the success you've had with a business. What did it look like for them? What did you do? How did you help them with the bottlenecks?
Give you a couple of examples, just so you can see the patterns. So an electrical business, for instance, so they were doing quotes manually. They were retyping everything manually. They were calling each other manually, and then the inboxes are like quietly dying because nobody can actually get to it. And then they're doing everything at night. There's a lot of things that are doing everything at night, a lot of trade services, construction. They are hands-on during the day. So everything they're doing at night. So, we can automate the intake. We can automate the job quotes. We can automate the documentation. You can automate the quotes, the follow-up, because, a quote gets sent. Great. Who's following that up? It's like, no, I just sent the quote. It's okay. But who's following that up? Like, are we actually getting this business? Because you took the call, you did the quote. I mean, doing the quote, let's be honest, there's a whole admin process within that fairly easy process. So automating that part, and then no one's chasing it. And I get it because no one has time. So it's actually automating that process. And then there's another example, an education business, financial service, for instance. So we've actually mapped their whole operation from how people come into their journey and how they book, the qualifying process. That can all be done. And it's pretty much admin. And the thing is, you can automate all of that, the front end, the middle, and the back end. And I could literally tell you the same story about a law firm, about a clinic, about a logistics company. The industry changes, but the structure actually doesn't. So you can have brilliant operators in any different company, absolutely drowning in the admin. And I will give you this task. Go and ask the person that spent 3 hours trying to open the zip file, right, on Monday. Did you go to university for that? Is that what you got your qualification for? I really highly doubt it. And as humans, we tend to, I love this book called Eat the Frog. And it's about actually eating the horriblest thing first, right? Doing the task first that you don't really want to do. And humans don't do that naturally. So we'll go and push things around and push a few buttons. And what we're not actually doing is we're not thinking, do I repeat this over and over again? And if we do, can we automate that? And, that's when your $20 an hour work become $200 an hour work. And that doesn't matter across every single industry. It's an industry problem, not just a specific niche.
I think when we're talking about bottlenecks, maybe, the bottleneck is that low hanging fruit. And, for all of the business owners listening, follow up on those prospects has to be the lowest hanging fruit in businesses all across the world. It's got to be that one. So even if they just started with that, surely that's got to save, just if we're talking just saving time, doing that, having that follow-up mechanism.
Yes.
That is pretty amazing. I've just had an aha moment in my head,
good.
of course.
Ta-da! My job is here done.
That's what you do to people. So, but let's talk about some legal stuff, because I see there's some legal stuff coming in. It'd be good to share that with everyone. Obviously, they all need to go and get their legal advice. So they all go and ask their lawyers. They can ask their lawyers about the Privacy Act stuff coming in, which is good, I think. But maybe if you could just give a few pointers around that, and then they're all going to ring their commercial lawyers just
And
for
be
a
like,
check-in.
well, Ilona, you've just emailed all of your members about exactly this thing. So, and obviously your background, and it was spot on. And I think, because I spent years in financial service remediation and a regulated industry, it was always something that we were waiting for. And that's why I think all of our meetings are transcribed to make sure what we've said, to make sure that if anything comes back on us, that's always something that can be integrated into any business. Everyone thinking, oh no, how do I do all of this? This is more prevention rather than cure. So, the last thing that anybody wants in any business is to, having not done compliance right, especially when it comes to AI and having to clean up a bit of a mess. So on the 10th of December, for anybody that doesn't know, there is some legislation that's changing in Australia. And that is where if any part of your journey, and a consumer is actually a part of your journey, and they mostly are, if any of that is touching AI or is used in AI, it has to be transparently said within your privacy policy. And I think everybody's worried about this slightly, but I do think it's amazing. Previously, my industry that I built, the remediation, didn't actually have any legislation. You didn't need any sort of compliance or anything. And it came in and everyone was like, no, this is really bad. But actually what it does is it keeps the trust in the market.
Absolutely.
I think
it's
a good thing. It's a good thing. And people don't need to worry about it. So say, for instance, you are somebody that you're a recruiter. And when people put their resumes into you, AI will check their resumes and help you, seek through which ones you need to speak to and give you a short list. So your privacy policy would suggest, okay, just make sure that they know that when it comes through to them, they're going to be going through an AI process. And as long as they tick that off, you're absolutely fine. Transparency is always key when it comes to businesses. Now, the one thing is that people that I see, and I'm actually doing a workshop at the end of this month, but people are not paying for their AI. And this is something that people are not talking about. You need to pay for your AI tools, guys, everybody, because if you do not, your data potentially could be going anywhere. It could be trained. So the AI could be training on your data, and you would need to state that in your privacy policy. So I don't think that people is going to like that. Also, your IP is actually in there also. So not just on a privacy level, but keeping your people safe, but keeping your company safe. Like your IP is all in. So pay for your AI. Make sure that you're on a business plan so you can make sure that none of your tools are training your data. And just stop before you upload something and think, should I be uploading this? Is this somebody's tax file number? Should I be giving this to AI? And all we're doing is we're stating it in there. And remember, humans, lastly, always make the final call.
I would agree. Yeah. And I hope everyone listening probably would agree with that too at a guess. But I think those parameters and boundaries coming in, I think really important. A bit of guidance and
Yeah.
understanding as to what we should or should not be doing. So I think it's a really positive thing, and we'll probably see a little bit more of that start to come in. Now, a little birdie told me, and I actually didn't know this.
You didn't?
You are the
What?
lead industry partner for a $1.5 million federally funded AI research project. And I can't believe you haven't told me, but I'm very, very excited about you. So now you need to tell me about it all and tell me why or how it's going to help business. Like, what is this?
I'm going to give you a really interesting story here. It's actually not in my notes. It's a funny story. My agent actually helped me do this without my knowledge.
Oh my.
hmm So he had implemented an agent, and it was very early on, and the guardrails were like, you've got this to do, you go and do it. And one of it is I wanted to apply for grants. It knows my outcome. It knows what I want to do. It knows my purpose, my passion, my everything. And it found this particular grant, but I needed to get a research partner as part of this grant. And the reason why it actually found this is because my passion is actually understanding humans when it comes to implementing AI. So it completely and utterly just hit the nail on the head without me knowing it. So what it actually did is it went on my behalf and emailed the university and said, hey, I wondered if you'd be interested. And the reason being is I'd already had a meeting with them about something else. So it just put two and two together for me. And obviously I had a reply and I looked into what happened and I thought, that's great. We'll have a conversation about it. That same day, the Southern Cross University said they wanted to be into it. Because this program, what we're doing is we are going to be looking into building AI agents for small to medium-sized businesses, mainly looking at the small. Big enterprises, they have the big budgets for this. They can build AI safely. They have time and they have resources enabled to put towards the projects, where small to medium-sized businesses, they are literally just doing it very, very quickly and potentially can do things wrong. So they're looking at a shiny tool and they're popping a chatbot that is not working properly, and then they're just sent off with, okay, good luck with that. So what we're building is working with some of the top professors in the whole of Australia. They're going to be researching the psychology behind not only how businesses are successful, but what makes a technology implementation successful using AI. Because what we want to do is build a complete agentic AI which enables small to medium-sized businesses to do it without people. So essentially, people now that are drowning in admin can run their AI safely. They can build it themselves without a huge corporate IT budget. So I'm super excited because this will be the first research paper of its kind.
That is so exciting to know that they're looking at that support for small businesses. And, I don't have a fear of AI. I'm really excited about this. So that's such an amazing initiative. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's
And
been fun.
I'm sure you're going to have so much input into that and really help them with that research paper. So
They're doing the research. So we're doing the building, and I've got them on board to do the research. And collaboratively, so me and the tech teams, we're going to be working together to build this with the research on top. It means that, so what people are mostly doing right now is they're building tech without sort of humans, if you understand me. So the psychology of what I've found is when a tech project really works, it's because the humans are so dedicated, they're so passionate, they're so into it, and it just runs completely smoothly. It's when it's fragmented and there is either, a lack of communication or there is a lack of understanding with how tech works. And I think this is going to bridge the gap between that. The tech is going to help that person, that company through the process and really understand what they need from it. Because I don't want to see projects fail. I want to see them succeed.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's really important for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you know me, I'm all about niches, and that being in my sort of industry, I think niches work really well. Is there a niche that you focus on? Is there an industry that you like? What does it look like for you? Do you love working with particular types of industries? Tell me, do you have a preference or track record? What's your niches, if you
We
do
are
have
built for
any?
many niches. I know. And we try and put ourselves in a box, in an industry box. However, we've done so much work and we try not to niche by industry. So even though we've done financial services and construction and heavy operations is really where we look. People that are drowning in admin, and what's fascinating is that, a builder and a financial advisor and a clinic manager, they all kind of describe the same painful processes, just in a slightly different way, or in slightly different words. They're either chasing paperwork, or they're retyping things, or they're following up, and they're just doing the same thing over and over again. And the thing is, the fix is actually transferable. So I think 16 years in the car industry, grow my own business in financial services for another 6 years. I think, it still goes back to your operations, and the operations really are the same everywhere.
Yeah, I have this saying, in business, some of the three basic things are how businesses manages its time, how it manages its money, and how it manages its people. And that could be a whole
Yeah.
range of things. So I can
Yeah.
just see AI helping with all of those
Yeah.
areas across the board, and
Yes.
help us really, especially look after our time, right? Which
Well, if
is
you think about it, also somebody from a different industry has a different perspective. Like we did for a financial service. Well, actually, it was kind of a financial service, but they didn't take payment until 6 steps, which means in stage 6, they had so many human admin, so much work they were doing, and they weren't taking them until stage 6. But, it was actually not me that I did pick that up, but it was more actually somebody else in my team that's never been part of a financial service. And they said, hang on a minute, could you reduce here and here and here? Because it's operational. It's irrelevant as to the industry.
yeah.
And I think that's where a pair of fresh eyes, it's like when you bring someone new into your business and they say, why are you doing that? And you're like, oh, because we've always done like that. And they're like, oh, but you could do it like this. And they've never even worked in your company before, and it's exactly the same, I think.
You would definitely be the fresh eyes for a lot of businesses, I think. You would probably look at a lot of businesses and go, I can help you so much. I know
Well,
exactly what I need to do.
Actually love that, because somebody actually said to me this morning at this business group, oh, don't judge me, I don't have anything automated. And I said, well, why would you judge me? I said, if you had everything automated, then there'd be no need for me. I'm not judging. If someone comes with an Excel spreadsheet and said, that's how my business is run, I'm like, yay, because ultimately they've got no complex anything, no complex tools. It's actually one of the easiest ways. And especially in construction, I mean, hats off to a lot of people, because a lot of businesses are actually built on sticky tape or paperwork or manual processes, and they have done really well. And I am not a person to say, oh, wow, look what you did. That was wrong. It's not wrong. Things have just changed. So imagine automating the things that you already do well manually. Yeah, that's where
And
the magic
buying our
comes.
time, which is what you
Yeah,
said, is buying our time back, and
yeah.
that's a huge focus for everyone at the moment. So if we were to think about, this week, doing something really simple, thinking about what might move the needle, like what do you recommend to people? Because sometimes, the perception could be that AI is this big thing and I don't know where to start. What would be the one thing that you would recommend?
Well, I think the problem is that you don't actually know what you need to do. And that's the overwhelming thing. It's not the tools that you're getting overwhelmed with. People are coming out and saying, hey, did you know you can have a tool for sales? Hey, did you know that you can have a tool for your finance? Hey, did you know that you can have a tool? We can't do massages yet, but when they do come out, I'm having one of those. So I think what it is the follow-up is probably the best thing for something like a Sparky or a law firm, okay? The quote process, like the engagement letter goes out and then there's silence. So what's that chasey thing? Where's the chasey thing? And that is we're not talking even AI here. We're just setting up one little automation that says, okay, there's been no reply. Let's send an email out after 3 days. So if you don't have a system that's doing that, that's probably the first thing that you need to look into. Is that would be the tool to actually manage your customer flow. And we're not talking about anything tech or anything AI at a high level right now. We're talking something comes in, it goes out, and you just automate that one process. And it can take a couple of hours in the afternoon, but I guarantee that I have seen this done quite a few times, and it's the cheapest revenue builder that you will actually implement is following up a quote that you've already sent, that you've already taken the time out for. Perhaps you could give them a call if you've got time, or put an AI agent in there in time. But I have watched just that one particular thing change a lot of businesses. Rather than focusing on building something, build something that's going to replace you chasing.
But you know what? And we talk about the reticular activating system is all of a sudden I'm thinking we're recording this on a Friday afternoon, and all of a sudden I know next week what I'm going to do is throughout my work I'm going to go, is this one of those chasey things? Is this
Yeah.
I think this is one of those chasey things that Colin was
chasey.
talking about.
I
Who
think
am
a
I
chasey
chasing?
thing. Yeah. I think we just be more simple.
Yes.
Don't look at all these magic things that are happening. The conversation, everything is not dead. Have you noticed on social media? Oh, this is dead now. Oh no, this is dead now. And I'm like, oh, I can't keep up with what's alive and what's dead anymore. It doesn't matter. I think the biggest thing that you need to focus on is your own business. I literally said this on a panel yesterday. People are so worried about what Jeffrey and Sally and Sarah are doing in their business, and I get it. If they're a competitor, keep a really close eye on them, but you have to worry about what's happening in your own business, and something that works for them might necessarily not work for you. So, I think it really just focus on your own race, and that's how you'll get through.
People, I think, are already starting to compare, and there would be a lot of businesses out there going, I sort of know I need to do something. I'm too behind. Is it worth it? Where do I even start? Who do I talk to? Of course, they can talk to you straight away, but there would be a lot of businesses perhaps feeling like that, and the fear and the hype. But, I'm always the glass half full, and I know you are as well. And I always see opportunity, and it's like opportunity of always improving things. I'd love your comments on this, but AI is another tool to help us improve what we do and how we do. And we're always looking for those improvements and learning. So what are your thoughts? Do you agree with me? What do you think?
What is the boring process is it in your business? I think you have to look at that. And it's not, I know nobody wants to look at that. They want to get to the end. Really, everyone wants to get to this end, and we're forgetting about the journey in the middle and how we've all got here. And I think what we need to look at is not watching the person that says, hey, by the way, download this thing and everything is going to run for you magically overnight. And you're never going to have to work in your business ever again. Okay. Because if they're selling that, they're actually selling snake oil. Because I really don't want you believing any of that. So anytime we implement something, it is a process. We have to sit down and work out, is the documentation taking time? Are your file notes taking time? And then we have to audit all of that to make sure that it's actually going to give an increase in revenue. Otherwise, what's the point? If you're sat there with 300 tools, nobody knows how to use them. You're sat on your bottom line and you're like, oh, hang on a minute. Am I looking at this purposefully? So when I actually implement this, is it automating the file notes that take me 3 hours a week? Nobody's writing a keynote about audit trails because it's boring, okay? But unfortunately, we have to create. And the good thing is you can speak to you could speak to your AI and ask it as well. If you're talking to it a lot, then you can do it that way.
I know you're speaking at one of my Queensland events in August, so we're really, really excited to hear you speak. I know about your topic, but we're going to wrap up. Is there any sort of lasting inspiration that you want to give the listeners, or something you'd like to share? It's just been, it's just so inspiring, and I'm so glad we have businesses like you around that are going to be out there to really help us get across this. But any sort of final thoughts or words? Or how can we help you?
I think people are making you feel like you are behind, but they're usually just selling something that they want you to buy today. So what I want you to do is write down the one task that you actually dread every week. So rather than the one that is actually going to move the needle, because this moves the needle in your brain, I would get you to write down the one task. If you can't think of it right now, when you next do it, you'll know which one that is. And this is your starting point. And I want you to automate that. And if you don't know how, we've actually got a Claude workshop at the end of this month. And we're actually teaching businesses how to implement and automate some of the boring business tasks, but some of the exciting ones as well, and build agents. Now, Claude is one tool, but if you've got that task, you can ask your LLM, how is it that I can automate this task? Because, and don't think of anything else. Just do one thing and your brain will thank you for that. Don't listen to anybody right now in regards to what magic thing is going to move the needle. You know this. You already know this. I think we're starting to question ourselves and our guts and everything because we can go and ask a robot. You know this already. So if you're sat there thinking, oh, I really hate doing quotes, but I really should be doing more of it, that's the first thing that you need to look at, and do not stop until it is fully automated. And then once it's automated, test it for yourself. So don't just put on automation, not test. And I think this is the world that we're getting. People have a non-technical background and we are having to be a little bit technical. But I promise you there are ways of doing it that are not that technical. For instance, the Claude Workshop, or there's other ways that you can actually use your ChatGPT or your Gemini or whatever you're using to actually help you through. So for beginners, non-technical people think that when they press the button, the ejector seat's going to flip them up into the air somewhere. So I think that ultimately, audit your business. Now, obviously, we can do that for you through Ethical Edge Solutions, or you can bring me into your team to do a workshop, which we're thoroughly enjoying for teams at the moment. And we build it, tailoring it on your workspace, on your ecosystem. So not watching a demo, but actually building. And I'm going to leave you with this because, I think that if you run a business, you can implement, you can train your team, and you can own it yourself. You can do all of this. You don't need the experience. But what you do need to do is you need to take action. Knowledge is not the power anymore. Okay, we can get all the knowledge from every single person. Action is. So take that next step and message me when you've done it.
Excellent. And where should they find you? Ethical Edge Solutions?
EthicalEdgeSolutions.ai or Carly Woods AI. You can type it into everywhere. I'm all over the place. And message me or on Facebook or any social media. And I'd love to help.
Carly is always so inspirational. Thanks so much for being on the Gold Coast Speakers podcast today. So for everyone listening out there, as you heard, I've already got Carly booked for my event. I've seen her speak. So I can hugely recommend her from my own personal experience as well. And it's been a thrill to have you. We're really, really excited. And also you can check out Carly on goldcoastspeakers.com.au. But thanks again, Carly. It's been a treat and you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Gold Coast Speakers podcast. If you love this episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're looking for your next speaker or even ready to step onto more stages yourself, you know where to find us. goldcoastspeakers.com.au. I'm JJ Person-Jones, founder of Gold Coast Speakers. And until next time, keep showing up, keep showing your voice and making waves.